I'm Sean.
I'm Nick.
I'm Ricardo.
Welcome to Salt Valley.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, boys.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Salt Valley Studios.
So we're going to bring up the time we all lived together with a female.
Yes, we are.
We won't say her name for obvious
Yeah, we
reasons.
want to say name.
That was definitely a wild ride.
Just for starters, I think we're just excited to move out and finally have our own place.
Oh, yeah. I feel
Yeah.
like we're grown up for once.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean those are all of our first times moving out.
Yeah.
So
You knew her the most.
I did.
yeah,
I was friends with her for a while. And thought she was great for a while. I mean, we never really spent like a ton of alone time together, like I never really knew her true self. So I was like, yeah, we're all moving out, or like we really want to move out. So like we need a fourth to like afford
Yeah.
this place. So like who could we do? And I was like, she's a girl, she's cute.
What could go wrong?
that was your
What could go wrong?
that was your like requirements.
She's probably reliable. I didn't really know her like financial history, So
Okay, but also to add to that, she needed a place to go,
she did need
Yeah.
a place to go.
so we
But
were
she-
also
she-
helping her out.
Has lived on her own before, so we're like, okay, she's had like, as far as I know, like 2 other places she was living at. It was fine. I hadn't
Yeah.
heard any stories.
I
But
mean, not to our knowledge.
yeah, to our knowledge. But it was so kind of quick too, because we saw this place and we're like, okay, this is a really nice place. It's a house.
Oh yeah.
Like we don't have to deal with apartment or townhouse.
It's
I
like
think-
it's like a newer house, something we couldn't pass up on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember it was only like the second or third place we even looked at,
Yeah.
and we
And-
just immediately put in that application.
This was before COVID too, so it was already pretty
yeah.
cheap for
This-
the house that was.
This was in 2018, I want to say
Yeah, it was like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
2018, maybe 19.
probably.
Yeah.
But anyways, so we were trying to gather up money, and the 3 of us had our deposit, and then she was still kind of struggling, and you had some extra money.
Yeah.
So we're like, Nick, if you want to, you can do that.
I was like, you know what? She says she's good to her word, She said if I get her deposit, she can just handle the rest for the rest of the time we're there. I'm like, this is too good of an opportunity. Like I can't pass it up.
Yeah.
So I covered her deposit, and then we just went from there. So
And I feel like I got dicked in the beginning of it,
Oh.
though. Because obviously she took the master bedroom.
yeah.
Ricardo chose his other second biggest room. And then when it came down to me and you chose the other room, and I was like, do you want to Rochambeau? You want to do something? And you're like, no. So I'm like, you assholes.
I was like, no, I have a girlfriend at the time. I need this little bit bigger room.
I got the smallest room. It was probably the size of this little set.
Sean got the child's room.
Yeah, Sean definitely got the short
But
end of the
that's
stick.
also why I was like, okay, I'm putting my stuff in the basement, and I'm taking the basement.
Yeah.
Fuck all y'all.
If it was a family that was staying there and they needed like a nursery, it would have been Sean's room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I dealt with it for you guys to move out. But anyways, even with the money situation, like I know the first month and I think maybe the second one, I had a cover for her.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, don't tell her because I don't want that being relied on. Just tell her, be like, we'll figure it out. Maybe it'll get worked out. You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, in the end, it did kind of work out. We did manage to get the place, and we were settled for a while.
Yeah, no, it worked out. We were
It
fine
worked
on the
out.
rent and everything.
Yeah, we were pretty happy for a while. Like
Yeah.
we'd get up. Sean would always love to do the dishes in the morning, and he cooked
Always.
for us occasionally. And
Yeah. I thought like every weekend I would always cook breakfast for
Yeah.
everybody. But that's what I loved. I love doing that and cleaning.
yeah.
Like being of that responsibility of like taking care of a house. Like I wanted that experience. So
Oh yeah,
it was a great experience.
it's like you're taking care of a family.
2 grown men and
I mean, in a way, it is because you're taking care of a house. So
Yeah.
But we did a good job at maintaining that house, like
yeah.
spot on.
That was
It
one
always
time.
clean.
That was one of the one times I could be like, I can mow my backyard with my shirt off and not care.
Well, you didn't care, but we had to see it.
We had to see. The neighbors had to see it.
Yeah, the neighbors had to
It's
see
like
it.
this is my time to shine.
It's about the time when they all had the kids go inside.
Yeah.
Inside, it's mowing.
Like, oh, the crazy guy's outside. He's vacuuming his driveway again.
Where do you think it really started?
It was okay for a while. Like we started having obviously little parties where we'd have friends over,
Yeah.
but there were nothing big. There were nothing like out of hand or anything except for the
Just
Halloween party.
small get-togethers.
Yeah.
The get together, occasional like a little out of hand where we both, because we had our friends, she had her friends.
Yeah.
So when it was just our friends, it was fine. Just hers, it was fine. And then when they both came together, it was a little crazy. It was a little wild.
Yeah.
It's just because of the sheer amount of people that were in the house.
It wasn't like super out of hand. Like it was still manageable.
Yeah.
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 But ours was only like usually once a week. And then we would
That sounds like a lot.
it
It's just once a week every
It
It
week.
does
sounds
sound
like
like
a lot, but
wasn't like a party. We would have a few friends and we'd game or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah.
But then she would do that. We would alternate. Like, okay, she'd have her friends over for a weekend. And then I noticed it started going downhill when it was like more constant during our work week.
Oh yeah.
And our work week, we wake up in the morning. Like I had to wake up at 4 a.m, get ready.
Yeah.
Go
I
to
think,
work.
I think I had to wake up around 4:32.
Yeah. And you were the same. Like our schedules
Yeah.
were perfect because we had to
Yeah.
wake up at the same time, leave. We
Yeah,
understood.
We all had a pretty similar schedule. See, I noticed the change around, I want to say 6 or 7 months into the lease. And that's when our roommate lost her job. So she had more free time.
Yeah.
And that led to her having more people over, including during the week.
Yeah.
But us three had a pretty similar work schedule where, we wake up at 4 a.m, drive to work, come back around 1, 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to have my little room away from like the basement and the second level, with the living room.
Yeah.
So I was kind of okay. Like every now and then I would hear, but I would be able to sleep through it.
Yeah.
But you guys were right above it, so
Yeah.
you heard it all.
Well, like at first it wasn't so bad because we set the rule that she could have people over during the week as
Yeah.
long as they're in the basement, because that way we couldn't hear them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like their voices would still be muffled, but they'd be in the
Yeah,
basement.
you
So it's
could-
like,
you could-
I can sleep through
yeah.
that.
But that made me nervous though too, because all my stuff's down there,
Yeah,
all my recording,
all your equipment.
yeah.
and that's not cheap. And
No.
they're still kind of young and immature in a way to where when they start drinking, they don't really know when to stop.
Yeah.
So that's what made me nervous, but I kind of still dealt with it because, we're on our own, we're living, get that experience.
Still trying to figure out what works. Yeah.
Yeah, we were a few months into the lease, but we were still adjusting to being on our own. And that's where we, knew that there's a party side to that roommate.
Yep.
That we did not grow up with. So it was definitely a learning experience. But over time, the rule for her being in the basement with her friends just kind of went out the window.
Yeah.
I don't know when or why or how, but for her, it just went out the window.
And I felt like there was like more and more people coming too. Like at first it
Yeah.
was like 3 people, and then like, oh, they're bringing their friend, their brother, sister, whatever.
Yeah. And my room was above the living room, right? So at first it was like 3 people. I'm like, like I can hear them, but it's not like I can probably sleep through it. I just struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
But then like as the weeks went on, it's just like it seemed like more and more people or like loud and louder voices. And it just like it was like my floor was shaking and it was like my pillow was a conduit to the floor,
Yeah.
So I could hear like everything. And it's just these people, like drunk people, just laughing and being super loud in our living room. And I'm just like, shut up.
I think you had the first like outbreak of like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm trying to sleep.
Like I just started, I was like, I think I just came to her first. I was like, you guys are being way too loud at night, and it's like stressing me out. Like I gotta wake up early. Like you're making me, instead of getting like 6 hours of sleep, like you're making me get like 3 or 2.
Yeah.
And it was getting like stressing me way out. And it just kept getting worse. And like as much as I brought it up, it never fixed anything. And even in the mornings, I'd wake up at like 4 in the morning or 3:30 or something, and they would still be awake in the living room just talking super loud.
It was an all-nighter thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's an all-nighter.
I'm going to work. Okay. There's a group of people in there. Like, don't do something stupid.
I remember a few times like I'd come downstairs and I'm like, I could hear you guys all night. You guys need to shut the fuck up, or else I'm gonna like beat your ass, you know? Like I was so livid because they would just keep me up all night, and they had like no consideration, you know?
Yeah.
And they were just like, oh, ha, 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 Nick's just being funny, like yelling at us, you know? And I'm like, seriously, like if you guys talk one more time, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And they just thought it was a joke. And I wish I would have done it, you know, just at least punch someone.
And another thing that we left out is she had 2 dogs.
Oh yeah.
So the backyard was an interesting situation of it kind of turning into like either we would have to clean it up or it's just gonna get left.
Yeah. Or we're like, hey, it's one of our turns to mow the lawn, you know, who wants to walk through the dog shit?
Nobody. I didn't mind mowing the lawn. I mowed the front, the sides, and then in the back I'm like,
Yeah.
That's the thing though. We told her like we didn't sign up for this. They're your dogs.
Yeah.
And she said she would clean up after them. Did she? No.
Like every now and then she would have one of her friends like pick up.
Yeah.
As bad as that sounds.
No, it sounds bad. It's pretty bad. But even then, like people coming over, it got to the point where her friends would just show up to the house. They would just walk in, like they're the ones that live there. And it would always came back to like Sean and Nick always saying like, "What the fuck is that guy doing here?"
Like we would deal with it, and it was fine for like a night or two.
Or like no one's there, and I'm like walking around with the shirt off, you know. I'm just like, oh, it's just me in this house.
Yeah.
Like one of her guy friends shows up, and I'm just like, hey, dude, like, oh, what's up?
There was times where I would walk downstairs to like make me something to eat or snack or something. There's just somebody in the kitchen making food, and I'm like, when the fuck did you even get here?
And
who let you in?
Like at first, I was dealing with that because it's like, okay, you know, as long as you're cleaning up, you know. And the pans that I bought for everybody to use ends up getting ruined. Yeah. There was like all this waxy stuff on the side. I'm like, what the fuck? And so I talked to everybody. I'm like, did any of you do this? Like, if it was one of you guys, I'd be like, okay, you know, maybe you were stupid that day.
Yeah. It's one of those days.
But I guess one of her friends was cooking and it got hot. Like, it's a pan, it's going to get hot. Grabs some like cloth that had a wax lettering or whatever.
Yeah, it was one of those decorative like seasonal ones.
Like they weren't exactly cheap pans, but they still ruined it.
Yeah, they weren't cheap pans. Like they were the better like Walmart pans.
And then nobody knew for the longest time until we narrowed it down to like, okay, it was this guy, and that really pissed me off. But I still kept it inside. I'm like,
yeah,
one of those things. I'll just let it boil up inside.
Yeah, it was just one kind of, it started just slowly building up after that. It was like, all right, there's dog poop all over the backyard. People are ruining our things that like we paid for. Just random people here like kind of ruining stuff. And I'm like, we didn't even know who they are half the time.
Yeah.
So,
and there were some like noise situations with a significant other that happened between everybody. Nick.
Oh, yeah.
So that was your room.
No comment.
A laundry room. Ricardo's room.
And then my bedroom.
Yeah. And then I had a bathroom, my room, and then the master bedroom. And the walls are so thin.
Yeah.
But I never heard you, so I didn't have a problem. But Ricardo would hear you guys.
I knew you didn't hear me. I just hoped Ricardo didn't hear me.
I mean, there was that one time because I did mention like before, like I can hear you guys pretty clearly. And this was after like the third or fourth time it happened.
Yeah.
I never said anything the first few times because I'm just like, it's whatever. He's doing his thing.
Yeah, there was a point in their relationship where there was a lot of tension between me and my ex-girlfriend. So
Yeah. But there was one night where it was just so loud to the point where I'm pretty sure at least from what I heard, you went through one round,
right,
and then it stopped, and then you went into the laundry room, turned on the dryer so that the dryer would be making the noise. And then like all of a sudden I hear like, because I'm just laying in bed and I'm like, why the fuck is Nick doing laundry at like 10 o'clock
you make
at
a
night?
mess? You're like, I better clean this quick.
That was literally my first thought. I was like, damn, he must have made a mess on the sheets. He's just throwing them in the washer.
No, hear me out. We were playing Scrabble and it just got really heated. And I remembered halfway through, I was like, I have laundry in the dryer and they're not done. So I got to restart it. So I pressed restart and I went back to my room and we finished that game of Scrabble.
Was it Scrabble or Yahtzee? Because there was some yelling.
It was
Yahtzee.
It might have been Yahtzee. There was a lot of yelling.
But all I heard was just you walking out of your room, going into the laundry room, turning the dryer on. You're going back into your room. You're going back at it with Yahtzee.
Didn't help.
And the fact that the dryer was on, making noise, and I still heard you over the dryer.
I can't help it that I'm so competitive at Yahtzee. Okay.
Did you at least win?
I don't remember.
Oh my God.
I feel like it was a mutual winning.
I feel like out of everybody, me and Ricardo are the most respectful out of that.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, everyone's busy or they're out.
Or you're like, Nick's just doing his thing. We get it.
And then that turned into everyone starting to get frustrated. I'm dealing with a lot at work and I'm having to wake up. I'm getting average of 3 hours of sleep.
Right.
If that.
So that first night that really got to me. And I probably overreacted. I'll admit that. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning. I just barely got to sleep. And then next to my wall, which sounds like in her bathroom, next to the counter, and I can say all of this because the walls were so thin. I know the layout.
Yeah.
Her going at it with one of her exes that she used to have, and this guy was such a douchebag. So I already didn't like that guy.
I don't think any of us did.
Just going at it, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I just barely got to sleep, got woken up. I was thinking about putting on headphones, but then I was like, well, it's too close. I might as well get up and go to fucking work. So I slam my door, I leave the room, I leave the house. And I know you all heard that.
I heard it, yeah.
Ricardo did that before me because I heard that too.
Because I left earlier than you guys did.
I remember the door slamming.
Like an hour after, like they would have been fine. I would have been gone. Go as long as you want to do. Go as crazy as you want. I don't care. But I just barely got to sleep. All that stress. And I'm like, fuck that. So that's what really got to me.
It was that same night too. All I remember was getting woken up to somebody just walking in the front door and they were slamming it. And I heard just loud ass footsteps going up the stairs. And then it was quiet for like maybe 30 minutes. Next thing you know, I hear footsteps from her room. Like they're like fighting or something, or like wrestling aggressively. And then all of a sudden I hear dog bowls just flying all over the fucking place. Like, what the hell's going on in there? And that's when it clicked. I was like, oh, that's going on. Cool. And then I look at the time like, oh, I got to be up for work in 2 fucking hours.
Yeah.
I was not happy that night.
That all was the start of my anxiety problems.
Yeah. Honestly, I never got your side of that story. Did you hear any of that?
It's hard to say. I didn't get used to all the noise every night. But I just so much anxiety every night. I expected something. So I just kind of tried my best to like tune it out and get like 2 hours of sleep and then go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Between that and then there was two, like, was it one other dog that started coming back to the house because of her friend?
Yeah, it was the same person that burnt the towel on
Yeah.
the stove.
Yeah, it started out as, oh, I'm dog sitting.
Yeah.
And then the
That's
dog
what she
never
started
left.
out at.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And then, oh,
Where
God.
as soon as she said she's dog sitting, we're like,
Yeah.
well, you know,
No,
you're gonna
the-
keep it.
The second she walked in the house with that puppy, I was like, "There's no way she's just
Yeah.
dog
So
sitting."
now there's 3 dogs. They can be a lot to handle.
Especially the new one, because the new one was way more like rambunctious and stuff. We're like, this one's like too much
Yeah.
for us
Oh,
right
yeah.
now.
For context, it was a
Yeah.
pit bull, so very high energy dog, and it was a puppy. So
Yeah,
you know,
like,
there's
nothing
no
against
stopping
pit bulls,
it.
but it was hyper.
It was a pretty sweet dog. We love pit bulls, you know.
No,
But
it's
it's-
nothing against the breed. It's just
Yeah.
that specific dog was just super high energy. There was never a moment where he would just sit still.
Yeah.
So that just added to the noise. But I think that night that I heard the dog bowls just flying everywhere, that was like our tipping point for, I'm pretty sure it was all
Yeah.
3 of us.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was just the
Oh,
tipping
yeah.
point where it was just starting to go downhill.
Like, I was already contemplating of like, I kind of want to leave this place. Like, I don't want to stay here.
Yeah.
And then you came to me and talked about it. We talked a while, and you're like, I'm gonna get off the lease. And I'm like, okay, I'm right behind you.
Yeah. Sean was like, I'm tired of staying in this Harry Potter little hole.
Yeah.
little room.
That was the Harry Potter hole. I'm scared of my stuff getting ruined. Like, I don't care about pans, like it's upsetting,
Yeah.
but if my computer or my recording equipment got ruined, that's a lot of money. And that would
Yeah.
Like you had all your recording equipment at the time. Like I had a really busy job at Amazon, and like my stress and anxiety was through the roof, and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
yeah.
They're keeping me up all night, you know. And
So
it's just
we messaged the people and we got off the lease. And we're like, we felt bad for you because we're like, dude, like we can't stay here. We gotta leave. And we were kind of thinking maybe you would go with us, but
like we love Ricardo, but
yeah.
this is pushing us too far.
You're also a very nice person, and you're like, well, what was going through your head? Because I felt like you were still like, I don't just want to leave her and just abandon. So you kind of want to be there, provide a little bit.
There was a lot going through my head at that time, because there was a part of me where I was like, God, I hope these guys stay, because they're kind of like the only thing keeping me sane in this house. And then you told me that you both were leaving. I was like, I understand. But at the same time, I felt so bad just leaving her, because being in the previous situation before we moved in, she doesn't have a place to go because,
Yeah.
you got to think of that stuff like ahead of time, especially when you're on a temporary lease.
Oh, yeah.
But she never did. So,
Yeah.
I decided to stay.
Yeah. Well, you guys became very close too. Like, you guys were always hanging out.
Yeah, no, we
Yeah.
became super, super close. And after you guys left, it did not get any better.
No. And I know this because, what was it, 5 months out? Like, we were still worrying about you and stuff. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get a call while I'm at work, and they're like, no, it wasn't 5 months. It was probably, what, a year or something?
Yeah,
It was a little
it was a
later.
while after we moved out.
But I get
No,
a call from like a collections person that's like, hey, we noticed you were on this lease and we're trying to get a hold of everybody. You owe us $5,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Excuse me? Well, I got off the lease with Nick. Like, I told your name because I'm like, well, me and Nick got off the
Yeah.
lease. So if you want me to send you the agreements and stuff of us getting off, I will do that right now.
Yeah. And I think after that, Sean messaged me or he called me and
Yeah.
explained to me what happened. He's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
hey, like, what evidence do you have? Because like we need to send that to them to let them know that we're not
Yeah.
part of that.
I'm like,
anymore.
hey, I got a call. They're going to call you next.
I was like, oh my god, like I hope I have this information still.
Because when we left, the house was still pretty intact and everything. Like,
Yeah, it still looked pretty
we were
good.
always on top of cleaning and everything.
Besides all the dog poop, it looked good.
Yeah. So after that, I think I even called you. I'm like, hey, dude, like, I don't know if you know this. Like, they're trying to get a hold of me. Like, I don't know what's happening at the house.
I think you guys tried to, but I never answered my phone.
And I just felt bad because I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, we're like, what happened in this house while we were gone?
A lot happened after you guys left, actually. So after you guys left, one of her other ex's little brother moved in, and then she had some other friends that she knew, and it was him and his girlfriend, and they both moved in. They took your room, and then her ex's little brother took Nick's room.
An asshole. He doesn't know what happened in that room.
Oh, we told him. And he kind of topped your stories. Anyways, after you guys left, the parties just kept going. And I just kind of like silently dealt with them.
Yeah.
And I will be very honest. We lasted maybe 5.5 months after you guys left before the rental company finally said that we're done.
Yeah.
They finally said no more, that they gave us the eviction notice.
Was it just from like getting calls of like you guys being loud, or was
No,
it payment
so
stuff?
what had happened was the roommate that moved into Nick's room, it was his birthday, and it landed on the same weekend as Labor Day weekend. And he was like, I want to have a party for my birthday. So we're like, okay, fine, whatever. Little did we know, he had a friend who also had like a bajillion fucking friends. He invited everybody he knew that he followed on Instagram.
Oh God.
So that weekend, the first night, bare minimum, 150 people in that house. They were just smoking, drinking, partying, to the point where some of the people like that we saw just were hanging out in the front yard. They were trashing the neighbor's yard because they were just throwing their beer cans everywhere. And then that first night we're like, okay, that can never happen again. Second night, he's like, all right, I want a small get together this time. Maybe 60 people this time. We're like, all right, this is not better.
No.
But after that weekend, literally the following Monday, we got a text from the rental company saying that the neighbors are complaining that there's people in the front yard. They're trashing it. There's beer cans everywhere. There's noise complaints. And somebody reported more dogs in the house because there was, at the time, there was maybe 6 dogs at the house.
Didn't you say there was someone with a beard that kept streaking across the neighbor's yard too?
Probably.
I liked one of the neighbors too. He was a cool guy, so
Yeah.
I feel bad for him.
Well, that's the thing is,
Yeah, we thought the neighbors were great. We got along with
Oh,
them,
yeah.
that
so.
neighbor is the one, like his wife is the one that reported us. Even though that same night she invited like 4 or 5 people into her house to take a shot and like go in their hot tub and stuff. But she's the one who reported it because she was the HOA like manager of that neighborhood, but we didn't know that. But she reported us in, and the rental company just finally said, we're done. We have, and they texted us word for word. I remember it. They said that we have 2 weeks to get out. And if we get out within those 2 weeks, so we won't charge you anything for the damages. We won't like charge you for like terminating your lease or anything. So we're like, all right, whatever. We'll just get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And then after we were just done with that house, maybe 2 years later, I think is when you guys like were getting your calls about the collections. Well, because you guys were off the lease, they went to me. And I didn't answer any of their calls because I knew that they just wanted money.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, no, you guys don't need it because you said, you sent me a text. When we get out in 2 weeks, you're not going to charge me anything.
Yeah.
They charged me anyway. 4 months later, I get my first paycheck, or not my first one, but it's like a paycheck. And I noticed that it's like super short. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I go up to my HR lady.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, well, there's a thing on here that says you're getting garnished. And I'm like, what the hell is that for? She looked into it, and it's that rental company. So for 7 months, I got garnished and had to pay them back $5,000.
Jeez.
That they were asking you guys for it.
Yeah. That's why we were hoping you would have left with us.
Yep.
But I do remember like when you guys had that 2 weeks to move out, like you're like, hey, you still have your drum set here. I'm like, okay, I'll come grab it.
Yeah.
I go over and I remember the tile just being kind of trashed in the bathroom. And I'm like, oh my God, what did you guys do?
It's because
You look in the backyard and like all of the grass was dead.
Yeah.
And it's just like mounds of shit everywhere. And you're just like, what happened when we left? Like, what?
I'm glad we did. But like, what was it? Like a month or two after we left, like they ended up having, the dogs had a litter of puppies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one was on me though. So I was dog sitting and
You had the puppies?
yeah, they came out of me. But no, they that was my fault because one of her dogs was like in heat. And then the pit bull, he's just being a boy. He managed to get it in there while I went to go pee. And then she was pregnant.
Well, I remember you watching her dogs a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she wasn't home a lot.
Yep. Always working.
No, she wasn't working. She was at the bar or partying.
She would say she was working.
She never told me she was working. She always told me she's going out.
I don't know. That's just a lot of responsibility, but also like you're a human too. Like you gotta. People need to understand. Like I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but like take advantage of other people.
Yeah,
because I feel like you were definitely taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Like she is nice and respectful in certain ways, but there's also times where it's like, dude, like you gotta wake up. And I've been in situations like that, so I understand.
I mean, it took me 4 years to fucking wake up.
Yeah, it took a while.
It took me a while, but I woke up finally, got out of it. Feel a lot better about myself now.
Sweet Prince Sean finally kissed Sleeping Beauty. Woke him up.
It was more than a kiss.
Oh.
You don't disclose that.
Finally got Ricardo back.
Yeah. For now.
That was quite the experience. And
I will say it was quite the learning experience, especially on my end. And I'm definitely way more careful about who I live with now.
Things like that, like I wouldn't take it back.
No.
Like the situations I have been in, I'm like, I went through it. I've learned, and if I could go back and not do it, I probably wouldn't, just so I have that experience.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't undo it completely, but I'd say maybe after 4 months, I'd be like, all right, you're out. And then it would just be like us three or something for the rest of the time.
Yeah.
No, I think in hindsight, if it would have been just us three, we would probably still be there.
Yeah.
We'd be chilling.
Still cooking great dinners every night together.
Watching you get burned because you always cooked bacon without your shirt on.
Yep. That's one thing I do. But also, the house would still look great. We would still be having a great time in a great new place. And
yeah. I want to backtrack a little. The tile in the bathroom happened because we had another friend stay there, and he had 2 more dogs.
Oh.
But we all had to go somewhere. I think I was at work. And in his mind, he thought, let's just leave the dogs in the bathroom while he went to work. Came back, all the tile and everything that was in there just completely destroyed. Jesus. Even some of the concrete was clawed out.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I was like, damn.
What the fuck?
Those poor dogs, for one. But to fix that, I paid for maybe $300 in supplies. I'm not the one who actually did the work to fix it. It was one of her friends.
Yeah, which you should not have paid for that.
Yeah, no, I shouldn't have paid for that house in general.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
But it is what it is, life throws some lessons at you, and I definitely learned.
Yep. Life throws some lemons at you and then destroys your bathroom floor. So,
well, lemons can be destructive, Nick.
Yeah.
Just lemons.
It's the acidity.
Yeah, you gotta learn.
Well, cheers to that.
Cheers
to
boys over that.
Yeah, cheers to
knowing you're out and just being you. I love it. That's good.
Be responsible. Take care of your friends, and
your glass is empty, bud.
And fill up your glass.
Cheers. How did I spell?